And then the 9 o'clock hour came, and Brian, this is what I was talking about earlier in the program. They put the garbage in the middle to try not to leave the people with a bad taste. Or do you think that Dick the Boozer finally got smart and figured nobody's going to watch the end of the show no matter what, and I'll get blamed for it, so we're going to put this in the middle? Which of those hypotheses would you support?
I think this is a match they've actually built up for a few weeks, and they were smart enough to know that if they put that match at the end of the show, it will die no matter what at this point. That's the way you trained your audience. So they were going to try to get anything out of this. They had to do it here at the 9 o'clock hour.
Let's put them at the top of the 9 o'clock hour and see if we pick something up from the curious.
Right.
And then Moxley, he's walking through the parking lot for absolutely no reason. It wasn't snowing at that point, but there's snow on the ground. He's coming into the building from out in the parking lot, but there's no vehicle that he has obviously left. What, did he just walk up at that moment? What sense does this make, Brian? He's not coming from anywhere. Somebody just dropped him off? Would he Uber over?
He looked cold.
He's walking through the parking lot, and as he gets up to the TV trucks, Edge jumps him in the parking lot.
And they gave that away because as soon as he got up there, all of a sudden for the first time, the camera wasn't in front of him. The camera went behind him so you could see someone run up.
Yeah, well, because they want to make sure they get all the shots because they're trying to win an Emmy. And he couldn't see, even though he was in a parking lot of snow. And snow, boy, really, it heightens your vision with all that light and reflectivity. So Edge jumps him in the parking lot. They fight walk into the back of one of the semis where they have a fake fight with things in the semi. And then they take a bump out of the semi and they fight walk into the building where the cameras are waiting to pick them up because they obviously knew this was going to happen. It looks so bad. It's not only is it more of the same shit, but they're not even trying anymore. They just go from place to place and rattle their toys around. But Edge could have retired after the WWE and still been a big star. But people would have had fond thoughts of him. He's going to get probably another $10 million or so out of this little run, but he's damaged his reputation if he gives a shit about that. But they fight through the hallway into the arena, and there the fans see him. So finally they, oh, here they are finally, mildly react. And they get to ringside, and of course, this is an AEW world title match with Edge against Dick the Boozer, but it's a street fight. No disqualification, anything goes, lazy booking. And again, they're on the floor. And the pace is not blistering, but they're fighting on the floor. And the fans are either staring or they're trying to take a selfie of themselves with the fight going on in the background so they can send to their friend, yeah, look, I'm here. Or they're kind of giggling. These are supposed to be the world title and two of the biggest main event guys they got. And people are just standing there gawking at it. They're waiting for somebody to crash through furniture or get hit by a car or be impaled. And they got the garbage can and was it a kendo stick or a cue stick? It wouldn't make any noise. It looked solid and it fucking looked like it hurt. I think they couldn't find a kendo stick, and they just said that a cue stick was a kendo stick. And then they fight walked through the arena again so they could go out in the bleachers and in the back part of the arena. Oh, how cutting edge, how revolutionary. We never see anything like that. And Brian, am I overstating? I don't mean to drone on, but am I overstating the case that this looks fucking fake? They don't have to go these places. They're cooperating with each other to walk to these places and then exchange blows, most of which don't look very good. Am I overstating this?
No, I don't think any of this looked very good. I don't think any of these kind of matches with Edge have looked good since he returned to wrestling. That one with Randy Orton at WrestleMania was one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. And Moxley, on a good night, his stuff looks like shit. So even if you get past the sickening spot later on, The work itself was bad, and this was a bad match, in my eyes.
Well, let's get to some more of that, because they finally got back to ringside, and Moxley gave the DDT to Edge on the desk, which didn't budge, it didn't collapse. They go to the break. When they came back from the break, they were in the ring for the first time. And there's the plumber beating Edge up with a chair and then puts the chair on Edge's neck and just leans on it for a while. And then he gives the people the finger on camera. And then he puts the chair gently around Edge's neck. And Edge lays there immobile, in no way trying to remove this chair, while Moxley goes to the fucking top rope, and then Edge gets up and throws the chair at him. And then he superplexes him, the big superplex off the top rope, and then they got up and traded fake forearms. It's the same fucking match. And then Edge went under the ring and looked around for a second and came out with what appeared to be a cricket bat with spikes sticking out of the end of it. It wasn't a baseball bat because it was flat. There is no implement like this in the real world. They made it. I assume that maybe it was a cricket bat because there was a flat side that they could technically try to hit each other with. But Edge gets the fucking bat with the spikes and gets in the ring, and Moxley gives him an RKO and he drops it. And so that was smart of Edge. Every babyface wants to get out, get under the ring, introduce a weapon in the match that nobody's ever fucking seen before, and then lose it to the heel like an idiot. But Mox didn't lose it, or didn't use it then, because, well, why would you use a bat with spikes in it when you can fucking go outside the ring, pull out a table and slide it in? That'll win you a fight a lot quicker than a bat with spikes in it. And he took forever to lean it up in the corner, but that gave Edge an opportunity to get the bat with the spikes that even when Moxley took over, if he didn't want to use it, wouldn't you throw that out of the vicinity of the fight you were having, Brian?
Right away.
Well, no, Edge gets that and hits him with a gut shot. And then hits him with a shot to the back. Now, Moxley didn't bump for either one of them, but also neither one of those drew any blood. Which, again, my theory that they left a flat side so that you could hit with it. But I'm trying to figure out what the spikes are, because they were too light to be steel spikes, the way they're swinging that thing around. But they didn't look like rubber. Maybe they're plastic, I'm thinking. And just then, Edge grabs Moxley with the bat laying on the ground and gives him a suplex, and Moxley lands back first on the bat, and the spikes stick in his back. Now, we're not talking about steel spikes that impaled him up to a depth of 6 inches. It's like, I guess, stepping on a Lego or whatever the fuck. These things stuck in, and there were enough of them. Even a half-inch deep? I don't know what the fuck, this fucking idiot. But they stuck in deep enough, and there were enough of them that it was stuck in his skin, and you could see it pulling his skin. And he could stand up with the bat in his back, and it was hanging off of him. And the referee was looking and didn't know what to do. And they fucking, he's walking around with it in his back, and it looks like some kind of goddamn insane clown posse juggalo fucking dinner party or some bullshit.
That's my favorite album of theirs, Juggalo Dinner Party.
Well, they did have good Horsdy overs. But again, the idiot took a bump on sharp plastic spikes, if that's what indeed it happened. hold on now, there's more. Suddenly, here comes Wheeler Useless, and he runs in and gives Edge the big knee. And then he's trying to pull the bat out of the back, and he can't. So then suddenly, again, here's his teammate with a bat stuck in his back. He can't figure out how to get it out. So then suddenly he jumps out of the ring, runs around, and jumps up in Edge's arms so Edge can power bomb him through a fucking table on the floor at ringside. So you think Moxley must have said, let the referee get it out. Go do your spot. And then the referee pulled the bat out.
Have you noticed the fans groan when Wheeler Yuta appears in these? Because it's always a run-in to help Moxley near the end. The fans groan when it happens.
Yes, and so do I. And again, here's the thing: of course, the bat sticking in his back, people are going, ah! But we'll talk about the psychological implications here momentarily. But the point is, in the middle of this, now they've just completely lost track of what the fuck's going on. Because it's supposed to be a world title match, but now this other guy's come in and knocked out the challenger, and the fucking champion had a goddamn bat sticking out of his back. And then here comes Claudio and Pac out and beat up Edge right in front of the referee because it's no disqualification. So they get in the ring and they repeatedly double team him. This is what pisses people off. That's what causes the groans, even amongst smart fans. Amongst regular fans, this would have caused a riot back in the day. They would have been so mad at the referee and the promotion. And this is what makes people lose faith in baby faces. Where are this guy's friends? Oh, wait a minute. They've got to wait until the heels set up a concerto, because that's the spot where then FTR can come out and start to save poor Edge. But in the meantime, they look like idiots because this has been going on and nobody's doing any goddamn thing. And then, and again, by the way, Brian, you said when the bat was stuck in, dipshit, that you turned away. You didn't want to look at it. That's what you told me earlier, but I didn't.
Yeah, no, when they first started pulling it out and I saw the skin kind of come up, that's when I was like, I'm going to leave the room for a few minutes.
Yes, it was like pulling a guy out of barbed wire, whatever. The skin is pulling and whatever, but that I watched closely because I don't give a fuck about this guy. I don't care whether he's hurt himself or not. He did it on purpose and he's an idiot. But I wanted to try to figure out what kind of material they thought they could get by with making spikes out of. And then they've got the concerto going on, but FTR comes out and beats up, and now the bat has mysteriously disappeared, even though that seems like that would win any fight anywhere. But that's disappeared now. But FTR beat up Claudio and Pac, and Dax gave Moxley a pile driver and then left the ring. I'm sure Moxley put that spot in because here's another rule of thumb that they're too stupid to realize. If you have baby faces come out to save another baby face from a heel numbers attack, in this situation, if FTR gets rid of the people that interfered, that makes it even. But if one of the saving baby faces does something offensive to the fucking guy in the match, then the baby face he's wrestling has allowed somebody else to help him. And tries, and subliminally, that's wrong psychology. So, but Dax had to give Moxley that so that Moxley could get up after a pile driver. And then Edge speared Moxley through the table.
Great looking pile driver, by the way. That was perfect.
Oh, yeah, great looking pile driver. Yeah, Moxley was on his feet within seconds, standing in front of the table that Edge was supposed to spear him through. And then cover 1, 2, and then Marina Shafir shaves. I wonder if Marina Shafir shaves.
In fact, she uses Harry's, from what I understand. Jim, let's talk more about our friend.
Well, no,
Harry's.
You're only supposed to use Harry's on your face. Now, I'm wondering if she's using Manscaped. But nevertheless, Shafir shaved, and then here's Marina Shafir beating up Edge in front of the referee. And now the referee is a goddamn grown adult man, and he's not trying to do anything when a woman is beating up the participant. But here comes Willow. Hit Willow, hit Willow, hit Willow. And she saves the day by beating up Marina Shafir. But Pip Sabian comes in. Have you lost track of who's involved in this match yet, Brian?
Not yet.
Pip Sabian comes in and Edge spears him. But when Edge spears him, Nick Plain rolls in and gives Edge the Cody cutter. And then rolls out and referees what? And Moxley covers him 2 count. And then Moxley gets the choke. And the referee stops it. He just choked him out again. At least that would have been some kind of fuck when the catch him. But he gets him in a stationary hold where they're all immobile. And then the referee just, fuck it, ring the bell. And the fans disappointed booed. It was the surly boo, like, oh God, no, boo.
Again, boo.
Again. And the Boar Horsemen leave, flipping more fingers. The faces are in the ring. Dax will not help Edge up when Edge tries to reach up and get a hand. Edge won't help him up. He walks out of the ring. He blows off Cash. So you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. You had 7. No, I forgot. You had 10 people interfere, or was it 9? After a guy was impaled by a fucking spiked bat. And now the baby faces in the same segment are turning on each other, where the heels are trying to fuck some of the heels in the earlier thing. It's sad. So sad. It's a sad, sad situation, and it's getting more and more absurd, Brian.
Well, we'll see what happens. The post-match teased an FTR turn. I can't imagine it would turn against each other. I would have to think the entire team would turn. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? This was a bad match, and I'm sorry. I know Edge has a lot of fans from when they made him a main eventer and the stuff he did.
I used to be one of them.
I have not enjoyed anything with him. His matches are terrible. And Moxley's the worst wrestler on the planet.
Yeah.
We used to get a lot of heat. If you think I get heat for things I said about The Rock, when I used to say that about Moxley, people wanted to kill me. And now all those people realize I was right. He's the worst wrestler on the planet, and his instincts to do stupid stuff. You know, for all the complaining you did about the pizza cutter spot during the Domino's spot or commercial, whatever it was, to me, I would rather have people see that than if they tuned in and saw that board sticking out of his back as it's being yanked and the skin pulling away. Like, that's too much. That's a step way too far. Watch the staph infection this fucking guy's gonna get for that stupid shit.
No. Staph is gonna get a Moxley infection.
And again, the Death Rider stuff causes the AEW fans to feel unfulfilled. The finishes are always bad. The run-ins are like, you know, everyone loves the Four Horsemen, but they had too many run-ins in 1988. And people expected it. And they stood up and looked to the back. You expect Yuta and Claudio to run in. You look at who could potentially beat Moxley. From Darby to Ospreay, which is probably the most logical one, to whoever else. It doesn't seem like that's on the horizon. We may have to wait till Texas for that. This Moxley run is Hall of Fame awful. And it's one of the worst things I've ever seen as a wrestling fan in terms of just the worst stable, the worst promos, the worst matches. The fans who go to these events don't like it, and the fans who watch it on TV don't like it.
Well, and here's the thing with, in all serious now, not even talking about...
Oh, I'm serious.
Well, no, in all serious now, what I'm about to say, not even talking about whether it's a good match or not. It's not a debate now. It's not up for, well, there's points to be made on both sides. Moxley has mental issues of some description. I'm not saying that he's fallen off the wagon. He needs to go back to rehab. I don't think this is a substance issue. I think this is a mental problem. Whether it's concussions, however many times he's been hit, whatever the fuck, did he used to act like this? I've never met the fucking guy. but we can all agree he's got problems. And I think they ought to have somebody looking at his fucking problems. From his own mouth.
I think we can all agree he has problems.
Yes. I mean, what the normal people don't look like this, don't act like this, don't do these things, and normal people don't like to watch people do these things. That's why it's a subset of modern society that gets into this type of fucking falderall. And Moxley idolizes.
That's right.
He idolizes Nick Gage. He said that on TV. I'm not putting words in his mouth. Oh, he's the greatest. Fucking yeah. A mentally impaired criminal who was before and may or may not still be on drugs that nobody rational would want to associate with is this guy's fucking hero. And he has these fantasies that he is allowed and indulged to by the billionaire boy child to go on national TV and masturbate himself to these fantasies that he's Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees or a circus sideshow tough guy. And what he does is he makes people think like if you put one of these juggalo conventions on goddamn network television, people would laugh and they'd say, look at these fucking low-class, brain-damaged trash.
Although that album, Juggalo Dinner Party, is a real sleeper hit.
Well, they did try to do chamber music, but it's not just about running viewers off. It's not just about, it's going to run their TV network off one of these days because, let me get this straight, TBS executives would not let Jay Briscoe be on their network because of tweets that he had made, not even on a wrestling program but in his personal life. But this living, breathing septic tank, sewer dweller can cuss and flip people birds and slice himself with razor blades and try to pour bleach down people's throats on their television network, and that's okay. What is going on here? Somebody needs to send this guy somewhere where professionals can examine or treat him, not put him on national television and indulge him. He makes everybody that watches him think that people in wrestling are the equivalent of the geek, the sideshow geek. The old pencil neck geek line from Freddie Blassie, the geek in the carnival sideshows was the lowest form of human life. He was the guy that would bite the head off a live chicken if you bought 10 cents to see it. And that is what Jon Moxley is. Well, he's making people in the business look like him, which is bad. So I wish he would go bite the head off another chicken somewhere else. Because that's why I say this is another chance for the WWE to, it doesn't make them look bad because you'll never see something like that on their television. They can say, no, that's these other people. That's these, fucking outlaw people. That's this low-class fucking bullshit company. You don't want them, you want us. And they get the big money from sponsorships, and they get the big money from deals. And they can differentiate themselves from that. But what the fuck? There's even all of their audience they have already in AEW didn't like this. So how do they think they're going to get a new audience with something like this? They don't. It's just what Moxley, Dick the Boozer, thinks is cool and badass and dope. Is it dope, Brian?
No, it's Dope Moxley.
Well, there you go. Yeah, what Dope Moxley thinks is dope is what they're doing.
It's what's in the briefcase. My dope.
And it's obviously not a belt because that's another thing. The briefcase is way too light. But they have now impaled somebody onto, well, he impaled himself on television. But they think that's where their minds are at. This is an indie, niche product, indie-rific, fringe mindset that they all have where they're all playing these parts that people just can't see in most all of them. And they don't want to see this bullshit. This was as distasteful as the time I was talked about when that Judas Messias on TNA made his debut and sliced Abyss up with fucking broken glass. Abyss bladed both of his arms like a foot long apiece. And I'm just, how are we still on the fucking air? Thank God nobody at Spike TV paid any close attention. The Spike representative came down, sat in a production meeting, and then went and played golf. And then came back and saw part of the show and then left early. Otherwise, I think we'd have got cut off that night.
No, they only started paying attention when they heard that Russo was sending around emails about the product again. Then like,
yeah, well, that was years later. They say, he's back? Oh, fuck no. We'll let somebody be sliced up with broken glass, but not that. But that's, I mean, again, you know, until Tony takes a stand and until somebody just refuses to work with Moxley and indulge in this type of garbage, they're going to keep doing it, but they won't because they think it's good. Got news for you, buckos. Normal people don't want to see shit like that. And somebody's going to say, well, Cornette likes blood and wrestling and violence and wrestling. And if a trained professional who knew what he was doing and was over in the midst of having a great fight with another trained professional who was over and knew what he was doing, took a chair and swing and hit the other guy over the head with it, and that guy bled buckets and they carried him out on a fucking stretcher in an ambulance, I would applaud that because that is believable violence done and executed in a working fashion. The reason I don't applaud this is because this was in the middle of an obviously fake fight where everything looked like shit. And then the guy took his own bump onto a stupid, goofy fucking weapon that doesn't really exist. And the people sitting there knew that they're working together and he still impaled himself. That means to me that I think that Jon Moxley is a stupid motherfucker. As I'm sitting there going, well, they're working together and he did that to himself on purpose. You're a fucking idiot, John. That's the difference. Is gross. It did, and not a dollar was drawn. One is a fucking angle to shock people into, oh my God, I bet that guy wants to get even when he gets out of the hospital. And the other one is, yeah, that guy's a fucking goof. That's it.
I like the fact that he's out there bleeding from multiple holes in his back, dressed like a bum. Then you go to the back and there's his wife dressed like she just came out of Bloomingdale's. The fuck's going on there?
What do you think that she would have to say to him? What are you doing?
You know what? Honestly, if it was me doing something like this, I would get a speech from Suzanne about the kids and me being there for the kids and them seeing things I do, whatever it was. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. That'd be the approach I'd probably.
How about don't be stupid in front of our children? They think that their father is a moron and the kids at school make fun of them.
So drop out.
Oh, well.
Well, that was the worst segment of the week and one of the worst matches I've seen in forever.
But now you know what is safe to do, don't you, Brian?
Well, no, what is safe to do now? No.
Now we can eat. You didn't want to eat before you watched that match. You would have lost your dinner. But now we can eat a fine meal now that we know that Moxley's out of the way. Nothing more can hurt us. You got to look at it that way. You got to space your dinner time out, Brian. Don't eat before you have to watch Moxley because there could be involuntary responses from the gut and the esophagus and the trachea that would just hurl anything that you ate right back out into the open air.
Well, why don't we focus on when it is a good time to eat and specifically what you should eat?
What's good to eat when it's a good time to eat? Well, it's a good time to eat after Moxley's out of the way because you don't want to look at something like that. And what's good to eat is the chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy coming from our friends at Factor. They are dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. And we're not just talking some kind of slop. We're not talking about Dalmatian stew and crawdad innards. We're talking about chef-made gourmet meals with sides and nutritionally balanced. They're all based on randomized controlled. And you know, when you can control randomization, you've got it made. It's just like sincerity. When you can fake that, you're on Easy Street. They've got Factor Keto meals. They've got Factor Chef's Choice. They've got Calorie Smart, Protein Plus. No matter what different type of food stuff, Brian, that the folks out there in podcast land, the cult of Cornette, the people, no matter what you're wanting to eat or not eat, to stick to or stay away from, they've got it. 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu every week. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals. And Moxley could lose even more because he could lose the 8 pounds on the keto meals and another 2 pounds from getting juice. But folks, again, it's not just dinners. It's not just saving you the chore and the slaving of going to the kitchen and cooking a hot meal every night of the week when you can already have it prepared and just heat it up. But it's wholesome smoothies. It's breakfast. It's grab-and-go snacks. It's more add-ons. Boy, howdy, I recommend the porpoise flanks. So reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat by eating smart with our friends at Factor. Brian, you have factored in Factor in your meals, and you have had good results. Also, you're still alive.
I'm still alive and still enjoying the fine heat and eat meals from Factor, chef crafted, and of course I go with the Protein Plus option. I like my protein. You're into the keto friendly because you're a fan of keto and the Green Hornet and Factor.
Oh, keto. But I'll tell you something right now, folks. You can heat them and eat them, but don't eat them and heat them. I made that mistake. I read it wrong the first time.
How does that even work?
I ate them and then I jumped in the oven.
Okay, let's not, again, ladies and gentlemen, silly talk means silly moments, but let's get to serious food and Factor.
No matter what type of oven you use, electric, gas, microwave, you can heat these things. As a matter of fact, you can put them over an open flame out in the great Wyoming countryside and do the rural cowboy type of Factor. You can do that too, Brian.
Let's focus on the kitchen indoors in the house of Mr. and Mrs. America.
Well, in all the ships at sea, sometimes you might want a skylight in your kitchen where you can still eat inside but be under the stars. It all starts with factormeals.com. FACTOR meals.com, factormeals.com/factorpodcast, and use the code factorpodcast to get 50% off of your first box of meals plus free shipping. So it's a lot to remember there. I'll give it to you again. Factor Podcast is the code. Factormeals.com is the site /Factor Podcast. But you get 50% off. That's why it's an extra discount, because you got to type all those things in. And free shipping. And again, eat like a gourmet for half the price and get a quarter of the fucking calories and bad things.
Delicious meals, many different plans, 4 different plans. Delicious meals.
Do you have a plan to get out of this?
Delicious meals and options for everyone. We eat them here. You should eat them there. Factor, friends of the show. One more time, Jim, what's that promo code?
Eat them here, eat them there, everywhere. Factormeals.com /Factor Podcast. Use the code Factor Podcast, 50% off your first box. Plus free shipping.